Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to step into one of the largest marketplaces in the ancient world? Imagine walking into Tenochtitlán, the magnificent capital of the Aztec Empire, where tens of thousands of people gather each day to trade everything from fresh cacao and obsidian jewelry to colorful fabrics and sacred offerings. The air is alive with sound, the soft hum of voices blending with the distant beat of drums. The scent of chili peppers, roasted maize, and sweet flowers drifts through the air. And everywhere you look, there's motion. Merchants calling out, artisans carving stone, and canoes gliding silently through the canals. But here it's the question most people don't ask. Could you actually survive in this place? The truth is, stepping into this bustling market would be overwhelming for almost anyone today. The heat, the crowds, the noise, the sheer energy of it all. It could leave you dizzy, exhausted, even on the edge of collapse. Tonight we'll slow down time and walk through this incredible world together. We'll explore why the Aztec marketplace was so essential to life, how it connected an empire, and why thriving here required endurance, skill, and deep cultural knowledge. Along the way, we'll uncover secrets of Aztec trade, spirituality, engineering, and social life. A journey into a civilization where faith, survival, and empire were woven into every single moment. So, take a deep breath and let your mind drift back to a time when stone temples rose above the lakes, markets stretched for miles, and the rhythm of life beat to the steady drums of the Aztec world. The sun has just climbed above the horizon, and already the streets leading into the market are alive with energy. From every corner of Tenochtitlan, people make their way here. Farmers carrying baskets of fresh maize and squash blossoms, fishermen hauling nets heavy with shimmering lake fish, traders guiding llamas and donkeys laden with woven goods, obsidian tools, and rare feathers. You can almost hear the murmur of voices growing louder with each step you take, the shuffle of sandals against stone, the distant sound of flutes and drums drifting faintly on the morning air. As you approach the open square, the scale of the marketplace begins to reveal itself. It is massive. Some estimates say up to 60,000 people gather here daily. Imagine standing at the center of this sprawling space, surrounded by thousands of stalls, each carefully arranged according to what they sell. On one side, you see piles of brightly colored cacao beans, measured carefully since they serve as currency. Nearby, merchants display carved obsidian blades so sharp they can slice through leather with ease. The air is thick with scent, roasted maize, honey, vanilla, flowers, wet stone after rain. Some smells are sweet, others sharp, some entirely unfamiliar to your senses. The market is alive, almost vibrating with energy. Sellers call out their prices in Nahuatl, the language of the Aztecs. Bargaining is constant, soft voices, quick exchanges, and quiet negotiations. There are no coins here, no silver or gold changing hands. Instead, bundles of cacao beans, tiny cotton cloaks, and carefully weighed copper tools serve as money. A small bag of beans might buy you a meal. A handful of them, perhaps a cloak, and entire baskets could secure precious obsidian tools. If you pause and close your eyes for just a moment, you feel the hum of activity all around you, a steady rhythm of life unfolding in one of the most advanced cities of its time. But as magical as it feels, it is also overwhelming. There are so many sounds, so many smells, and so many people pressing close that your senses would tire quickly. The Spanish chroniclers who visited after the conquest, including Bernal Diaz del Castillo, wrote that nothing in Europe compared to this. He described it as a sea of motion and color, a place where constant negotiation, loud announcements, and endless movement could leave even the strongest visitor dizzy. And yet, for the Aztecs, this was simply daily life. Children ran errands for their families, farmers delivered their goods, priests came to bless transactions, and officials quietly monitored the exchanges, ensuring that the rules of trade were followed. Some even described designated judges who handled disputes on the spot, preventing conflicts from escalating. The entire system was organized, efficient, and surprisingly modern. As you drift through the stalls, Your mind wanders between the endless possibilities: spices from distant lands, shimmering tropical bird feathers, jaguar pelts, clay figurines, carved shells, honey, salt, medicines and tools, a living reflection of an empire's wealth and diversity. But this is only the beginning of our journey into Aztec life. Because beyond the market, there are stories hidden in the rhythms of everyday survival, and secrets buried deep in the empire's rise and fall. In the next segment, we'll leave the marketplace behind and follow the path into the heart of Tenochtitlan, exploring how the Aztecs built their extraordinary city: floating gardens, massive temples, and ingenious engineering, all on a lake that shimmered beneath the sun. Take one last deep breath, and when you're ready, we'll step deeper into the empire. Take a slow, deep breath, and imagine leaving the lively Tlatelolco marketplace behind. The crowds gradually thin as you step onto one of the long stone causeways that stretch outward across the shimmering waters of Lake Texcoco. The air feels cooler here. A gentle breeze touches your skin, carrying the faint scent of damp earth mixed with water lilies. All around you, the lake reflects the pale blue sky, calm, smooth, and endless. This is Tenochtitlan, the crown jewel of the Aztec Empire, and yet, it rests on a foundation unlike any other city in the world. It rises directly from the lake itself, a miracle of design, determination, and vision. Imagine arriving here centuries ago as a traveler from Europe or Asia. The first sight of Tenochtitlan would leave you silent. Temples rising like mountains, brilliant white stone glistening in the sunlight, hundreds of canals crisscrossing the city like shimmering ribbons, bridges arching gently over the water as canoes drift quietly beneath them. The Spanish chronicler Hernán Cortés described it as a city that seemed to float upon the water, and in many ways it did. The Aztecs settled here around 1325 CE, choosing a small swampy island in the middle of the lake. By all logic, this was an impossible place to build a thriving metropolis. The soil was soft, the land was unstable, fresh water was limited, but the Aztecs saw opportunity where others saw difficulty. Through centuries of innovation, they transformed this island into one of the largest and most sophisticated cities of the ancient world. As you walk along the causeway, you notice vast patches of green stretching out into the lake. These are the chinampas, often called floating gardens, though they are firmly anchored to the lake bed. The Aztecs built them using woven mats, layered mud, reeds, and rich sediment from the lake bottom. Each chinampa was carefully designed to maximize farming space in an environment where land was scarce. Imagine narrow, rectangular plots surrounded by canals, with rows of maize, beans, squash, chili peppers, and flowers flourishing beneath the warm sun. You can almost smell the sweetness of blooming cempasúchil flowers mixed with the damp, earthy scent of wet soil. Birds circle lazily overhead, their calls echoing across the water. Workers paddle between the plots in small wooden canoes, harvesting fresh vegetables and delivering them to the city's markets. It is a quiet, steady rhythm, the heartbeat of a society deeply connected to its environment. The chinampas allowed the Aztecs to feed hundreds of thousands of people. In fact, Tenochtitlan's farming system was so efficient that some historians believe it produced 7 times more food per acre than traditional European methods of the same period. But farming was only one part of the challenge. Tenochtitlan's builders had to solve another pressing problem: water. The city sat in the middle of a saltwater lake, but humans cannot survive without fresh water. The solution? Aqueducts. 2 massive stone aqueducts carried fresh water from nearby springs miles away into the heart of the city. These aqueducts were so well built that parts of their foundations still survive today. Imagine the quiet sound of water flowing steadily through carved stone channels, feeding fountains, gardens, and homes. And yet, the engineers went even further. To control flooding during the rainy season, they constructed dikes and dams, separating fresh and salt water and keeping the city dry when storms rolled across the valley. The result was a breathtaking harmony between human ingenuity and natural forces, a balance so perfect that even modern architects study it today. Now picture yourself drifting in a small canoe, moving slowly through one of Tenochtitlan's many canals. The water beneath you glimmers softly, reflecting sunlight like liquid glass. You pass families cooking breakfast in open courtyards, children laughing as they chase each other along narrow walkways, merchants delivering baskets of bright feathers and woven textiles to the markets. The city feels alive, yet peaceful, an interconnected network of waterways, homes, gardens, and temples. In the evenings, as the sun sinks behind the surrounding mountains, the city would glow with the warm light of pine torches and clay lamps. The canals shimmered like rivers of fire beneath the star-filled sky. But beneath this beauty, there was fragility. The city's entire existence depended on constant maintenance. The chinampas had to be repaired, the aqueducts carefully cleaned, the dikes inspected and reinforced. Without these efforts, the waters of the lake would reclaim the city. It was a reminder that even the greatest civilizations live at the mercy of nature. A truth the Aztecs understood deeply, weaving it into their rituals, their prayers, and their way of life. Take one last deep breath. Feel the quiet ripples of the lake beneath you. And listen to the soft voices of workers paddling through the canals, carrying the day's harvest to the waiting markets. But as we move deeper into our journey, we must leave these calm waters behind. Imagine standing in the sacred precinct at the heart of Tenochtitlan. The bustling sounds of the marketplace have faded behind you. Here, the air feels different, heavy with incense, the faint hum of chanting voices drifting across the plaza. Before you rises the Templo Mayor, the Great Temple, its twin staircases reaching high into the pale blue sky. The stone steps glow softly under the sun, worn smooth by countless feet, over centuries of ritual and prayer. All around you, the walls are decorated with carvings of serpents, jaguars, eagles, and ancient glyphs telling the stories of the gods. Each image carries meaning, whispered through time, a reminder of a universe alive with unseen forces. To the Aztecs, life was fragile, balanced on the edge of chaos. The sun, the stars, the rains, the seasons. Nothing was guaranteed. They believed the gods had given humanity the gift of existence, but that gift had to be repaid every single day. Without the right offerings, the sun would fail to rise, the rains would vanish, and the world itself would crumble into darkness. Imagine waking each morning knowing that your prayers, your rituals, even your daily choices were part of a cosmic responsibility. A duty not just to your family, but to the entire universe. In the soft glow of torchlight, priests recite the stories of the gods. Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun and war, his path traced across the heavens each day. Tlaloc, the god of rain and fertility, whose temper determined whether the harvest would flourish or fail. Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent, a bringer of wisdom, culture, and creation. Each deity was both protector and destroyer, capable of immense generosity and equally immense wrath. For the Aztecs, worship wasn't about fear alone. It was about balance, a delicate exchange between mortals and the divine. The gods gave life, but they demanded energy in return. As the sun begins to set over the city, shadows stretch long across the plaza. In the center, a small group of priests carefully arrange offerings before the temple steps. Clay bowls filled with maize, cacao, and obsidian blades. Garlands of cempasúchil flowers glowing like captured sunlight. Incense burners sending up curling ribbons of sweet-smelling smoke that drift lazily into the air. The scent of copal resin is thick and calming, almost hypnotic. It clings to your clothes, lingers in your hair. Each wisp carries prayers upward, a silent request for balance, rain, and survival. Imagine standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, the chants echoing softly. You feel the weight of history pressing gently against your senses, Like a lullaby told in stone and ritual among the many rituals, few were as important as the ceremonies honoring Huitzilopochtli, the sun god. On certain sacred days, the entire city would gather here in the plaza. Bright banners fluttered in the wind, painted in rich reds, blues, and golds. Musicians played slow, rhythmic drums that echoed across the lake like a steady heartbeat. The people prayed for the sun as strength, for its fire to continue lighting the skies and nourishing the crops. Without the sun, there was no life. Without ritual, there was no sun. This cycle of giving and receiving was the core of Aztec spirituality, woven into every festival, every chant, every whispered prayer before dawn. And yet, beyond the chants and the offerings, there was peace in this faith. For the Aztecs, these rituals connected them to something far greater than themselves. In an uncertain world of floods, famine, and fragile survival, their devotion provided comfort. The universe had meaning. Their lives had purpose. Standing here beneath the shadow of the temple, you can almost feel that quiet reassurance, a belief that through balance and care, the cosmos itself could endure. Take one last slow breath. The sweet smoke curls higher into the fading twilight. The priest's chants soften into the evening breeze. But our journey isn't finished yet. The evening has arrived in Tenochtitlan. The sun dips low over the shimmering waters of Lake Texcoco, bathing the city in shades of warm gold and deep violet. The noise of the marketplace has faded into a gentle murmur, and for the first time today, the city feels calm. As you walk along a narrow stone causeway, lined with torches flickering in the wind, you begin to notice something new. The layers of life within this empire, woven together like delicate threads. For while the Aztec marketplace is where everyone meets, beyond it lies a world deeply divided by class, privilege, and tradition. We drift quietly between those worlds, from the modest homes of everyday farmers to the grand palaces of the elite. And finally, into the private world of the emperor himself. Imagine stepping into a small adobe home in the outskirts of Tenochtitlan. Its walls are smooth and cool to the touch, built from a mixture of clay and volcanic stone. Inside, a simple hearth burns faintly, releasing the earthy scent of roasted maize. The home belongs to a Maxawali family, commoners who made up the majority of Aztec society. The parents rise each day before the sun, their tasks set by the rhythm of survival, preparing tortillas from freshly ground maize, gathering vegetables and chilies from the floating gardens, repairing fishing nets, weaving simple cotton clothing by hand. Children help where they can, fetching water from nearby canals, tending to the chinampas, or carrying small bundles of firewood back home. Life here is not easy, but it is steady. Meals are simple: tortillas, beans, squash, and sometimes fish or turkey when the catch is good. The family sleeps together on woven reed mats, warmed by shared blankets during the cooler nights. Outside, the faint sound of distant flutes drifts through the air, mixing with the chorus of frogs calling from the lake. It is quiet, modest, and grounded, the heartbeat of the empire. Now, let us leave the quiet of the commoner's home and walk toward the inner city, where the Pipiltin, the Aztec nobility, live in far greater comfort. Their homes are built of carved stone and polished stucco, adorned with bright murals depicting gods, warriors, and cosmic stories. Water flows gently through small channels cut into their courtyards, carrying the soft sound of trickling streams. Here, life is different. Noble families dine on fresh turkey, cacao drinks, and delicate tamales flavored with rare spices. Their clothing is richly dyed, their cloaks decorated with feathers and jade beads. Where commoners walk barefoot, nobles wear finely crafted sandals of leather and woven fibers. And yet, even in their luxury, nobles live under strict expectations. They are trained from childhood in poetry, warfare, religion, and politics. Their role is to lead, advise, and defend the empire. In these homes, education thrives. Young nobles learn to write glyphs, interpret the sacred calendar, and recite the histories of their ancestors. Here, knowledge and power are carefully guarded, a privilege earned by birth. And beyond them all, rising above the city like a living symbol of the god's favor, stands the palace of the Huey Tlatoani, the great speaker. In the time before the Spanish conquest, this was Montezuma II's domain. The palace complex stretches across an enormous area, with lush gardens, sparkling pools, and courtyards shaded by carved stone columns. Exotic birds flutter among flowering trees, their feathers shining emerald, gold, and crimson beneath the sunlight. Inside, rooms are filled with painted screens, fine mats, and precious ornaments of turquoise and obsidian. Servants move quietly, attending to the needs of the emperor and his court. Montezuma himself is both ruler and divine figure, his words carrying the weight of law and faith alike. He receives ambassadors, priests, warriors, and merchants, each seeking his favor or permission. The palace is not loud, nor chaotic. It is calm, measured, and deliberate, reflecting the delicate order of the empire itself. And yet, even here in this glittering world of wealth and ceremony, there is a quiet awareness of fragility. For the Aztecs, the empire's strength rests on balance, between classes, between gods, between nature and people. The floating gardens must yield enough food, the rains must arrive on time, the rituals must please the gods. Life here, from the humblest farmer to the highest noble, depends on unseen forces working in harmony. Standing on the palace terrace as the evening sun sinks below the horizon, you can see the entire city glowing softly beneath the fading light. The canals like ribbons of silver, the temples casting long shadows, the lake reflecting a sky slowly deepening into twilight. For a moment, everything feels eternal, but you, knowing history, understand how fleeting it truly was. Within just a few decades, this entire world would face irrevocable change. Its people, its gods, its markets, its palaces, all transformed by the arrival of strangers from across the sea. And yet today, in this dreamlike journey, the empire remains alive. The marketplaces hum softly in the distance, the canals glimmer beneath the moonlight, and somewhere, incense still curls upward from the temple steps, carrying prayers to the stars. As you drift deeper into this world, let your breathing slow, let your thoughts wander, and let the gentle rhythm of history carry you into rest. Because for just a little longer, you are still here, walking through Tenochtitlán at dusk, where the voices of the past linger like echoes in the warm evening air.